Moses had led the Israelites for 40 years, but because of his sin, he was not allowed to go into the promised land. But God gave him an opportunity to see it. Welcome to the Word for 2021. Today we're in Numbers chapter 27, and in verse 12, God allowed Moses to see the promised land. Now Moses, he was not bitter, and he did not hold a grudge. He was not resentful because he knew that he had sinned, that God had disciplined him, and because of that, he knew that God was right. Moses, he wasn't perfect, but he left a legacy behind, a legacy of faith and obedience. When we think of Moses, we sometimes remember the things that he did wrong, but we also know that God used him in powerful ways, and he is in God's Hall of Fame in Hebrews chapter 11. When we think about leaving a legacy, the time to think about leaving a legacy is not tomorrow, but it's today, because our legacy is being written right now. How will you be remembered? How you will be remembered will be determined how you live today, tomorrow, and the next day. Your legacy and my legacy will be determined on what we cared about and who we cared about, how we worship the Lord, how we loved the Lord, and how we loved others. How you have lived will determine the legacy that you will leave. How I've lived will be determining the legacy that I leave. Most people don't know when they're going to die. Aaron, however, was told when he was going to die. That was in Numbers chapter 20. And here in chapter 27, verse 13, Moses is told when he will die. When he was told by God that his time was up, he didn't plead or beg for more time. He wasn't thinking small or petty. He wasn't stressing over unfinished business or even about dying. He was thinking about others. He said, Lord, choose someone to lead the people so that they will not be like sheep without a shepherd. He was leaving a legacy. God wants your faith to be passed on, just as his was passed on to Joshua. Moses trained Joshua. Eli trained Samuel. Elijah trained Elisha. David trained Solomon. Jesus trained his disciples. And Paul trained Timothy. We read in 2 Timothy chapter 2, verse 2, Paul said, "The things that you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable men who will also be qualified to teach others." Paul was saying, in order to make a legacy, you need to pass your faith along. That's called discipleship. God wants us to pass our faith along too. We need to be teaching people what we have been taught. We need to show others what we know how to do. We need to pass it on. Faith is passed on one person at a time. That's what we see in the life of Moses. As he started off, he was trying to do everything by himself. But then he learned to delegate. And now, right before he is ready to die, he's concerned about passing on the job that he had to someone else because he wanted the legacy to live on. Let me ask you a question. Are you leaving a legacy of faith? Thank you for joining the Word for 2021.